Howdy folks, this is Singing Toad, and today this is actually my third attempt at this video now because I can't seem to keep it under 15 minutes. I just have so much to say that every time I edit the video I wind up cutting out stuff that's important and I'm just not happy with it. So hopefully on take 3 we'll get this right. But today's video we're going to be talking about my 5 favorite Swiss Army knives. Or we're going to kind of call this like a challenge, like an open tag video. If you are a Swiss Army knife collector and you have more than 5 Swiss Army knives in your collection, and you had to reduce your collection to 5, you could only keep 5, which 5 would those be? This was tricky for me. I currently have 11 or 12 Swiss Army knives in my collection at last count, and narrowing it down to 5 was tricky. But let's see if we can do this, and first and foremost we're going to get rid of this piece of junk, because that is not a Swiss Army knife. So in no particular order, we're going to start with this one. So this is the Victorian Ox Waiter, also known as the Bartender, depending on what market it was sold in. Now this does have a piece of green tape on the back because it actually does have my real name engraved on the back of it. There's a bit of a story to this knife, and I'll get into that in a moment. I'll give you the Cole's Notes version, but believe it or not, folks, my real name isn't Singing Toad. But anyway, first off, it's got the main blade. And now this particular one does say Officer Swiss, and it has the bow and arrow thing on the back. And then on this side it says, Victorian Ox Switzerland stainless and Rosterray. I'm not 100% sure how that's pronounced. So my apologies if I've mispronounced that, folks. But this is kind of interesting because this one says Switzerland specifically. It doesn't say Swiss made, as all the rest of the Swiss Army knives I have in my collection say. So that's kind of interesting. On the other side here we have the 4-in-1 multi-tool can opener, bottle opener, cap lifter, wire bender, and flathead screwdriver, and it's kind of this lobster claw shape, which again is different from the other Swiss Army knives you're going to see in this video. And then of course on the back side we have the corkscrew, and then you have your scale tools. You have your toothpick, which is right in there, and then you have your tweezers. Now you might say, why would you keep this one? This one's not all that special. Well, it is to me. This one has sentimental value for 2 reasons. First of all, this was my first real Swiss Army knife, and when I say real Swiss Army knife, I mean by an actual authentic Swiss Army knife brand, Victorian Ox. Up until this point in time in my life, in my mid-teenage years, all the Swiss Army knives I ever owned were all, those knockoff, Chinese-made, flea market type imitation Swiss Army knives. This was the first real one, and what's special about this one and dear to me is that this was a gift from a girl I was dating in high school, high school sweetheart, whatever you want to call it. But she was Swiss, she was of Swiss descent, and she went on Christmas holidays to visit her family in Switzerland. And while she was there, she stopped in at the Victorian Ox factory and got, or the gift shop or whatever. I think they have like a factory outlet gift shop thing that's combined. Anyway, she was there. She went and got this, got my name engraved in it, my real name, and gave this to me as a belated Christmas present when she got back. And that is super awesome. So, although this isn't a very remarkable Swiss Army knife, it has a lot of sentimental value to me, and I could never part with this. Okay, so moving along. The next one is going to be the Pioneer X. So this guy has a main blade, and just to highlight what I was talking about earlier. So I don't know if the camera's going to show it, but it does say Victorian Ox Swiss made, and then stainless at the very bottom there. Okay, so to specify, it says Swiss made and not Switzerland. I'm not sure what the difference is, and then on the reverse you have nothing. So I don't know if there's some significance about if it's stamped Switzerland versus Swiss made. I'm not a historian on Swiss Army knives, so if you know the difference as to why one says Switzerland and one says Swiss made, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Okay, but you do get a little thicker, wider blade with the ALOX version, which these handle scales are very thick. They're very thick aluminum material. They're not this, the plastic, or I believe this material is called Solidor or Salidor. But anyway, you know, this is a very solid knife. This is the type of knife that if you were going to pass down a Swiss Army knife to someone generation after generation, this is the one to do it. Not, and I'm not saying you can't do that with any others, but this one here, you never have to worry about the knife coming apart, you know, unless you were doing, you know, some real donkey thing with it. This thing's not going to fail, okay? It's very well built. Now, of course, it has the awl, and what's neat about this awl is that the awl is in line. So it, you know, most of the Swiss Army knives come out from the back, which, by the way, this has no back tools, but usually they fold it from the back, and you got like a T thing, and where this one's in line, and it's also thinner and pointier. And what I like about this guy is this works as a good scraper and a good little pick, you know, for just picking at things. You know, you need to pick at something for some reason. This is an excellent little tool, and I really like that. Now, this being the Pioneer X, if I can get the scissors to come out, it has the scissors. Okay, and you know, Victorian Ox makes fantastic scissors. These things just pop right through paracord. I mean, I cut, you know, for Valentine's Day, I got my wife some roses, and I was able to snip the stems off with this, you know, just out of my pocket, no problem. Just went through like butter. And then, of course, you have your standard openers, you know, your can opener, and again, just to highlight that different style of can opener, and of course, the different style of, you know, this more broader, you know, with tapered ends on both sides of the flathead versus the one you just saw earlier. This also has a spot in the back where you can engrave, you know, a name or a date or whatever you want. Maybe I'll put Singing Toad on there, who knows. Maybe I'll put my real name on there. Maybe I'll put my son's name on there, or grandson, who knows. When I pass this knife down eventually, who knows what I'll put there. But anyway, that's the Pioneer X. Oh, by the way, this little gizmo is the Key Smart. Will the camera focus? There you go. Key Smart. It's a little keychain gizmo that just allows this to be pocketable. All the Swiss Army knives you see in my videos, if they have one of these, it means I actually do carry it quite often. And this is one I do carry, you know, when I'm kind of more going out to town or doing a more fancy thing or going to a wedding or a function. This is a little bit more of a dressier Swiss Army knife. Next one here, we have the, this is the Evil Grip, S17. And what's interesting about this guy is it has a locking main blade. And the blade is more, it's thinner, it's very thin, very slicey blade, but it has a lot of belly to it. It's you know, it kind of reminds me of like a pirate sword or something, you know, the shape of it. And of course it says, now this actually says something interesting because it has, again, I don't know if the camera will zoom in properly here, but it says Victorian Ox Swiss made and Delamont, and then nothing on the reverse. Now, what's interesting about this, well, it's got a half stop, which is really cool. But what's interesting about the Delamont and the Evil Grip series is, and again, this is just from what I understand from the reading I've done. I might not be correct on this, but a decade or a couple decades ago, Wenger, which was like the other official Swiss Army knife brand out there, went out of business, and Victorian Ox bought them out. And when they did, they took them, their employees, and they just merged them into their company. And the Evil Grip is actually, you know, kind of, the Delamont series is like an homage to the Wenger style, which this guy here, I think is like 84 millimeters long. I might be wrong on the length. But anyway, moving along, this guy has this really neat nail file and nail cleaner tool, which is very handy. He's got the scissors. If I can get them to come out here. Sorry, folks, it's hard to do this looking through the viewfinder, okay? So if I'm fumbling around here, I apologize. But the scissors, you'll notice, are different from the ones you just saw. It's got a torsion bar instead of a spring, and the camera's probably not going to zoom in on this at all, but they are serrated, and they claim to be self-sharpening. But when you cut along with them, you'll notice that the scissors move. With the other style, the scissors remain straight, but these ones move. So, you know, some people like that, some people hate that. To each his own. I'm not bothered by it. What else do we have in here? We have a saw, a wood saw, which is handy to have. We have the openers. Whoops. If I can get the opener to come out. There we go. So we have your can opener. And then, of course, we have the cap lifter flathead thing here. What is neat, though, is when you apply a bunch of force this way, it does sink in and lock in, so it's less likely to swing back on you. Then on this side, we have the 3-in-1 all reamer punch with sewing eye, and of course we have the corkscrew. And then obviously we have the scale tools. So anyway, this is the 17 Evo Grip, or the S17 Evo Grip, and I really do like this guy. And I've got this little lanyard. Now I keep this guy in my car, in the glove box of my car, and the lanyard's there just so that if I can see him in the dark. If I ever needed money in the middle of the night, I can just I'm just kidding. That's a joke, folks. That's a joke. I do not condone, Singing Tone does not condone night violence, okay, or any criminal activities. Putting that disclaimer out there right now. But anyway, yeah, no, I just keep that because it's easy to see it and pull it out if I need it for any reason in the vehicle. Moving along, this here is my Fieldmaster. Now, you're going to say, wait a sec, those are black scales. The last video I just did, he had red scales, and my Super Tinker had black scales, and I just did swap the scales because I like the black better. But, you have the main blade, you have the small blade, you have the scissors. Okay, and again, note how when I press on these scissors, this bar here does not move. Okay, unlike the Evo Grip design, which again I believe harkens back to the Wenger style of scissors. Oh, we have the wood saw. That's very handy. And of course we have the can opener, bottle opener thing. On the openers, on either side here. You got the scale tools, and then on the reverse, we of course have the 3-in-1 with sewing eye awl. We have the Phillips Driver, which to me is more important than this corkscrew, because although the corkscrew is cool and everything, and I know there are some bushcrafty type uses for the corkscrew. You can use it to untie knots and things like that, and you can get a little screw-in ferrocerium rod that goes in there. But there's also a Firefly that makes one that goes inside. You take the toothpick out and replace it with a ferro rod. So that's not really that useful to me. I would actually go that route personally. But you can get a little eyeglass screwdriver. So if you wear eyeglasses, I don't, but if you did, I probably should, tell you the truth. I am getting to that age where my vision's starting to go. Yeah, to me, the Phillips Driver is just more useful to me. So that's why I prefer that for my my main EDC Swiss Army knife. And then of course, last but not least, you have the all-purpose hook, which has a whole whack of different purposes. And I'm not really going to get into that, but what I typically use it for is for tightening things up. That's mostly what I use it for, okay? So that is the Fieldmaster, and that actually is my current EDC Swiss Army knife when I'm not carrying either my Swiss tool, my Spirit X, or my Leatherman Charge TTI. So anyway, this is what I carry when I can't carry a proper multi-tool with me, okay? Last but not least is this guy here. And let's get this guy out of the sheath. And this is the one-handed opening trekker, which has the large main blade. It has the saw. It has your openers here and here. Oh, and by the way, the opener, or this guy here, which is very, very chunky, is also locking, just like how the main blade is locking. So it is a liner lock. And then on the back side you have the awl, which does not have the sewing eye, and you have the Phillips Driver, and then of course you got the scale tools. And these are a set of Ranger beads. If you want an explanation of how these work, check out Corporal's Corner. He has a video explaining what Ranger beads or pacing beads are all about. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. So anyway, folks, I just want to go ahead and say, please type down in the comments, if you had to choose, 5 Swiss Army knives out of your collection, what 5 would you choose? And I also want to finish this video off by just saying something very important here. I just recently noticed that I've gotten well over 100 subscribers, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I just want to say thank you very much for being part of that. Anyway, this is Singing Toad signing out.